On the coldest night of 1904, 40 sailors were about to die in the fog outside Morro Bay. Every bell in the harbor was ringing to guide them home, and every bell was making it worse. Except one, the broken one, the one the town had voted to melt down that very spring. Have you ever felt like the flawed one in the room? The one with the crack running through you, while everyone around you seems smooth, polished, and whole? You hide it. You apologize for it. You would give anything to sound like everybody else. Then this story is for you. Because tonight, I am going to tell you about a bell with a scar, a girl who could barely finish a sentence, and a night of fog that revealed a truth most people never learn about their own flaws. Do not leave before the ending, because the real reason that bell was cracked is the part nobody in town saw coming. Morro Bay was a harbor town that lived and died by its fishing fleet. And a harbor town in fog country lives and dies by its bells. When the gray rolled in, off the sea, thick enough to erase the world, the bells were the only map. Their voices reached out through the blindness and said, "This way. Home is this way." The pride of the town was the new cathedral bell, cast in the city, polished like a mirror, with a voice so pure that visitors climbed the hill just to hear it. The town called it the Queen, and down by the water, in a crooked little chapel tower, hung the other one, old, dark, and running through its bronze side, a long, jagged crack shaped like a stroke of lightning. When it rang, its voice broke in the middle, a strange doubled tone, flawed and haunting. Children mocked it. Fishermen winced at it. The town called it the Cripple. The bellkeeper of that chapel was an old man named Samuel, and Samuel was the only soul in Morro Bay who loved that bell. Every evening, he climbed the tower, polished around the crack, never over it, and rang it gently, once, like saying goodnight to an old friend. When people asked why he wasted his care on a ruined thing, Samuel would smile and say, "You do not know what that crack is." Nobody asked what he meant. Remember that? Nobody ever asked. That spring, Samuel took on an apprentice, a girl of 15 named Anna, sent by a family that did not know what else to do with her. Anna was clever, quick-handed, and kind. She was also born with a stutter that turned every sentence into a battlefield. At school they had laughed. At the market, they finished her words for her, which is its own quiet cruelty. By 15, Anna had learned the lesson the world teaches flawed things. Stay silent. Stay small. Stay out of the way. That is how a girl who barely spoke ended up in a tower with a bell that nobody wanted to hear. The town thought it was fitting. The broken looking after the broken. Anna hated the bell at first. It embarrassed her, the way it announced its damage to the whole bay every evening. One night she asked Samuel, "Why do you keep it?" The city could send a new one, a whole one. Samuel looked at her for a long moment. Then he said something Anna would carry for the rest of her life. "Child, the Queen on the hill has a beautiful voice, but I have heard 100 bells with that same beautiful voice. I have only ever heard one voice like this one. There is a difference between damaged and distinct. Most people die without learning it." Anna did not understand. Not yet. Understanding was scheduled for December. The fog that came that winter was the kind old sailors talk about for 50 years. It did not drift in. It fell, like a wall, in the space of an hour, and it swallowed Morro Bay whole. And out beyond the shoals, caught in the blindness with the tide dropping, was the Halcyon, the largest boat in the fleet. 40 men aboard, including Anna's own uncle and half the fathers of the town. The harbor did the only thing it could do. It rang. The Queen thundered from the hill. The church bells joined. The fish market bell, the school bell, every bronze voice in Marrow Bay poured into the fog, and the town stood on the docks and prayed. But here is what the town did not understand about fog, and what the captain of the Halcyon was learning in real time, in the dark, with rocks somewhere to his left. Thick fog does not just hide light. It smears sound. It bounces voices off banks of gray until direction dissolves. And every one of those beautiful, perfect bells had the same beautiful, perfect voice. Out in the blindness, the Queen sounded like the church sounded like the school, and the echoes came from everywhere at once. The town was not guiding the Halcyon home. It was surrounding her with a chorus of identical voices, and the captain, twisting the wheel in the dark, could not tell home from rocks. On the deck, men heard the shoals breaking. Close, too close. And in the crooked chapel by the water, old Samuel grabbed Anna's arm and said, "Now, ring ours. Ring it hard, and do not stop." Anna hauled on the rope, and the cracked bell spoke into the fog. That strange, broken, doubled tone, a voice with a scar in it, a voice like no other bell on earth. Out in the blindness, the captain of the Halcyon went still. Every man on deck went still, because you cannot mistake that voice. There was no echo confusion, no guessing, no chorus. There was one sound in the world like that, and it hung in one direction. And every sailor in Marrow Bay knew exactly which tower it lived in, and exactly where that tower stood on the shoreline of home. The captain turned the wheel toward the broken voice. For 2 hours, Anna rang until her hands bled through the cloth, and Samuel rang beside her, and the cracked bell threw its flawed, unmistakable tone into the fog again and again. And the Halcyon crawled along that single thread of sound, past the shoals, past the point, into the black calm of the harbor. When the boat's lantern finally broke through the fog wall, the crowd on the dock made a sound that was half scream and half sob. 40 men came home that night, guided past the rocks, not by the proudest voice in Marrow Bay, but by the one voice that could not be confused with any other. The next morning, the entire town crowded into the crooked chapel, and the captain of the Halcyon asked the question out loud. How did that old bell crack in the first place? And Samuel, who had waited 40 years for someone to ask, finally told them. Long before the Queen, before most of them were born, a fire had broken out in the night on the west side of town. The wind was carrying it toward the sleeping streets, and the young bellkeeper of this chapel, a man none of them remembered, rang the alarm. He rang it for 4 hours without stopping, harder than any bell should ever be rung, while the town woke and fought and saved itself. Near dawn, with the fire dying, the overdriven bronze finally split. "The bell gave its voice to save the town," said Samuel, "and the crack is the receipt. You have all spent 40 years mocking a scar it earned protecting your grandparents." The chapel was very quiet. Then Samuel put his hand on Anna's shoulder in front of everyone and said, "And this girl rang it all night with bleeding hands. If anyone would like to finish her sentences now, you may step outside." Nobody mocked the bell again. And something shifted in Anna. Not overnight, and not like magic. Her stutter never fully left her, but she stopped treating her voice like a defect to hide and started treating it like that bell. Distinct. Hers. Years later, when Samuel passed, it was Anna who became keeper of the tower, and every evening at dusk, Marrow Bay listened for one imperfect voice and felt safe. One last detail before the lessons. The Queen still rings on the hill above Marrow Bay. Perfect as ever. Admired as ever. And to this day, when the fog comes in, not one captain listens for her. Remember that the next time you envy somebody's flawless, forgettable perfection. So what does the cracked bell mean for you? First, stop assuming your flaw is a defect. In a world where everyone polishes themselves into the same smooth, perfect sameness, the thing you are ashamed of is often the only thing that makes you recognizable. The odd voice, the unusual path, the sensitivity you were told is too much. In clear weather, perfect is fine, but people do not remember you for your clear weather. They find you in the fog by what only you sound like. Second, ask about the crack before you judge it. The town mocked that bell for 40 years and not one person asked how it broke. Your scars have receipts too. The failure that made you careful. The loss that made you compassionate. The years that everyone calls wasted, where you were actually earning a voice nobody else has. And extend that same question to other people. Behind almost every crack you laugh at, there is a fire you know nothing about. Third, your flaw only becomes valuable when you ring it. If Samuel had kept the bell silent out of shame that night, the Halcyon dies on the shoals. Hiding your difference feels safe, and it quietly robs the exact people who need what only you carry. Somewhere, someone is lost in a fog that your voice, your story, your strange, broken, beautiful tone is the only way out of. So tell me, type 1 in the comments if there is a flaw or a scar you have spent years hiding, and this story just changed how you see it. Type 2 if someone in your life is a cracked bell, someone the world underestimates, and tag them or share this with them today. Your comment might be the fog light someone else steers by tonight. If this story reached you, press like so it can reach the next person drowning in comparison, and subscribe with the bell, which feels appropriate tonight. Because next week I will tell you about a man who walked into a mountain village carrying a sack of stones he had refused to put down for 30 years. And what was written on the heaviest stone will stay with you for a long, long time. Until then, stop apologizing for your crack. It is not where you broke. It is where your voice comes from.